Hello and welcome. This video is a continuation of my previous linear equations video. The objective of this video is to help a student solve any linear equation that combines elements from levels 1, 2, 3, and 4, problems discussed in my earlier video. The levels are displayed on the slide here. If you did like to watch my first video, you can find the link in the description below. I recommend you watching my first video if you don't know how to solve any of the presented examples in this slide. The following agenda outlines the topics I will be covering in this video. The chapters listed from 1 to 5 represent different sections, and you can easily skip to the part you need help with by checking the description below. Chapter 1 to 3 I will solve linear equation problems that contain parentheses and demonstrate how to solve them by first removing the parentheses. Chapter 4 and 5, I will solve linear equation problems that contain fractions and show you how to solve them by first eliminating the fractions. I recommend you to try each problem on your own first before watching my solution. This way, you can identify where you get stuck and improve your understanding. That being said, let's get started. So let's go ahead and look at this problem, this linear equation problem. How would you solve for x in this equation? I recommend that you go ahead, pause the video, and try to solve it on your own. This way, you could figure out where you get stuck. Remember that in the last linear equation solving problem video, I said that you always want to get rid of your parentheses first. That means simplifying them. You don't want to see parentheses, they complicate the problem. So if there's any way you can make the problem first look nicer, take that approach. So the way to distribute is you get 3 times x, you get 3x. 3 times -1, you get -3. And then 2 times x, you get 2x. And then 2 times 2 is 4. Remember, distributing only happens inside of the parentheses. So whatever number that is being multiplied to the parentheses, that's the number that you're going to distribute to the terms that are inside of the parentheses. The next step here is to bring together your like terms. That means you're bringing your numbers together and you're bringing your variable terms together. And at the same time, you want to move your x terms on one side of the equation and your numbers on the other side of the equation. So let me show you how this is done. I am going to choose to move all my x terms to the left side of the equation and all my whole number terms to the right side of the equation. So here, I am going to add 3 to both sides. This way, I remove this -3 from this side. So here I get 0, end up with 3x equal 2x plus 7. And then I'm going to get rid of that 2x by subtracting 2x from both sides. Remember, this is a positive 2x. Subtracting 2x will give you 0. So here I'll get x equals 7. And that's my final answer. Here's another problem that I would like you to pause the video, work on it on your own, and then come back and see how you did. So go ahead, pause the video, and try to solve for x. So how would you solve for x here? Your first approach to any problem when it comes to solving for x is, how could I simplify the look of this equation? Okay, it does not look that good. What makes it doesn't look good is the parentheses. We do not want parentheses. We do not want fractions. Those are things that we want to remove as much as we can. This way, it makes our equation easier to deal with. So how do we get rid of those parentheses? And the only way we could do that is by distributing. Now, keep in mind that this is a negative 2, okay? So you're distributing the entire negative 2. So negative 2 times x is going to give you negative 2x. And then the negative 2 times negative 3 give you positive 6. And the reason behind that is negative times negative is positive, and 2 times 3 is 6. Now, our equation looks very easy and simple to look at. It's just addition, subtraction, and multiplication. What you do after that is bringing like terms together, meaning you're bringing your x variable terms together, you're bringing your numbers terms together. That's what you're doing. So, as I always have done, I'm going to move my variable terms to the left and my number terms to the right. Keep in mind, I can actually add up these 6. 6 plus 6 is 12. So it's actually 12 minus 2x. Okay. Now I could subtract 12 from both sides. To get rid of this 12, I'm going to subtract 12 from both sides. So I get 0. And then positive 1 minus 12 is negative 11. Here on my right side, I have a variable x that I want to move to the left. So I'm going to subtract x from both sides, which is the opposite of a positive x is a negative x. So subtract x from both sides. Here I'll get 0, and here negative 2x minus x is negative 3x. Let me take this problem up here. I'm just rewriting it. Now, my x is still not by itself. It's being multiplied by negative 3. So the opposite of multiplication is division. So I'm going to divide by negative 3 from both sides. So I'll get x equal to, this is going to be 1 is going to be 11 over 3. Keep in mind that negative divided by a negative is positive, and that's my answer. Here's another challenging problem that is similar to the one that we did before. Go ahead, pause your video, try to work on it on your own, and then come back and see how you did. So go ahead, solve for x. Welcome back. The first thing that you should be thinking about is how I could make my problem look nice. And if there's parentheses, it's not nice. Okay? So how do we get rid of the parentheses? And the answer is by distributing. Same to what we have been doing before. Remember that this 2 is being multiplied by this parentheses, and this positive 3 is being multiplied by this x minus 2, by that parentheses. So we're going to basically multiply 2 times x is 2x, 2 times 4 is 8, and then positive 3 times x is positive 3x, and 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. And we drop everything else because we didn't apply any change to them. Now our equation looks nice. There's no parentheses, there's no fraction. That means we can go ahead and combine like terms or bring like terms together. So I am going to bring my x terms together, and then I'm going to bring my number terms together. So all my x terms are going to be moved to the left, and all my number terms are going to be moved to the right. It doesn't matter what you start with, okay? what I'm going to do is I have an 8 here and I have a negative 6. Okay, so 8 minus 6 is 2. And then 2x plus 3x is 5x. Okay, here this is the only number, so I'm going to leave it by itself. So it's positive 6. And then negative 3 plus 5 is positive 2x. Okay, now I simplified both sides of the equation. I am going to start moving things around. So I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides because the opposite of positive 2 is a negative 2. So this will be 0. We'll get 5x equal to 4 plus 2x. Now I'm going to move this 2x to the left side, so the opposite of a positive is a negative 2x. Makes this 0, and again, whatever you do on one side, do on the other side. So here I'll get 3x equal 4. And then I have a multiplication here, 3 times x. So the opposite of multiplication is division. So this is going to be 1, because 3 divided by 3 is 1. So I'll get x equal 4 divided by 3. And that's my answer. So let's move to trying to solve for x when fractions are involved. So how would you approach this problem? You can see that you have a division of 2 and a division of 4. And the only way you can get rid of a division is by multiplying. So you could either multiply everything by 2, which will help you cancel out that 2, but will not help you to cancel out that 4, because you're going to end up with a 2 at the bottom. Because 2 over 4 will equal to 1 over 2. So you're still going to have that 2 in your denominator. Or you could multiply by 4, which will cancel out the 2 here, because 4 over 2 is equal to 2, so you're not going to have a denominator. And it will cancel out the 4 here, because 4 divided by 4 will just be 1. So there will be no fractions. So the best approach to take here is actually multiplying by 4, not multiplying by 2. Let me take this one step at a time. If I multiply everything here by 4, I'm multiplying each single term by 4. I'm multiplying this term by 4. I'm multiplying this second term by 4. I'm multiplying this third term by 4. So basically, if I show more in details, it would be 3x minus 5 over 4 times 4. It will be 2 times 4, and then x plus 7 over 2 times 4. Everything is going to be multiplied by 4. So if you look at that first term, 4 divided by 4, they cancel each other out. You get 1, so you're left with 3x minus 5. And then 2 times 4 is 8. And then 4 divided by 2 is going to be 2. And then so you're going to be just left with the 2. They cancel out, and you're going to be left with the 2. And get x plus 7. Now, we're finding that we are going to be left with parentheses, so we do not want parentheses. Because remember, fractions in parentheses make our equation look hard to deal with. So we're trying to eliminate fractions and parentheses. So far, we eliminated our fractions. Now let's eliminate our parentheses. So we're going to use distribution. So 2 times x, you'll get 2x. 2 times 7, you'll get 14. And on your left side of the equation, we can actually combine like terms right here. The negative 5 plus 8 would give you 3, positive 3. So you're left with 3x plus 3. Let's take this up here and continue solving for x. I'm just rewriting it. Now my next step is bringing together the like terms. That means I'm going to bring my number terms together and I'm going to bring my variable terms together. I'm going to be moving my variable terms to the left and my number terms to the right. So to do that, I don't want this 2x to be here. I want to move it to the left side. So I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides because the opposite of addition is subtraction. And this is a plus 2x. So opposite of 2x is negative 2x. Cancels this out, you'll get 0 on that side. So here you'll just be left with an x. Plus 3 equal 14. Now I have this positive 3 that I want to move to the right side. So the opposite of a positive 3 is a negative 3. So I'm subtracting 3 from both sides. I'm going to be left with x equal to 11. And that's my final answer. So here's your practice problem. Go ahead, pause the video, and try to work on it on your own. Then come back and see how you did. Welcome back. Let's see how you would solve this problem. What is the first approach that you would take? Here you want to think, how can I make the problem look nicer? And what makes the problem hard to solve or even hard to look at is the fractions. So the question is how to get rid of the fraction. You want to find what number goes into the 8, the 3, the 4, and the 6. So you have to look into your multiplication table. Now, I understand that sometimes people don't know their multiplication table, and the way to do it is you start with your biggest value. So, what is my biggest denominator? My biggest denominator is 8, right? So, 1 times 8 is 8. 8 does not go into the 3. If you divide 8 by 3, you will get a decimal. So, forget about the 8. Now, let's look at 2. 2 times 8, 16. Now, 16 does not go into the 3. So let's look at the multiplication of 3. 3 times 8 is 24. Now, 24 goes to the 3, 24 goes into the 4, and 24 goes into the 6. Okay, so our number that we are going to multiply everything by is going to be 24. And 24 is going to help us get rid of that denominator. So this is how you find what number you could multiply everything by to get rid of your denominator. So I'm going to multiply everything by 24. Now that means my 5 over 6x is going to be multiplied by 24, and my 1 over 4 is going to be multiplied by 24. My 2 over 3x is going to be multiplied by 24, and my 3 over 8 is going to be multiplied by 24. Every term is going to be multiplied by 24. Now, what is 24 divided by 6? It's 4. So we're going to be left with 5x times 4. Okay. What is 24 divided by 4? Is 6. So 1 is going to be multiplied by 6. Now, what is 24 divided by 3? Is 8. So it's going to be 2x times 8. And 24 divided by 8 is 3. So it'll be 3 times 3. Now, if you look, we have no denominators. Okay? Now we just need to get rid of our parentheses. And the way to get rid of that, and you multiply the 4 out. So here I'm going to multiply the 4, here I'm going to multiply the 6, here I'm going to multiply the 8, here I'm going to multiply the 3. So 4 times 5 is 20, and I drop the x. 1 times 6 is 6. 2 times 8 is 16. I drop the x. And 3 times 3 is 9. Now with this step, I bring together the like term. So I'm going to move my x terms to the left and my number terms to the right. So I'm going to subtract 16x from both sides. So here I get 4x. And this will just be 0. Negative 9. That means I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides to move that 6 to the other side. So this is going to be 0. I'm going to move this right here. So I'll be left with 4x equal negative 9 minus 6, negative 15. Now my x is still not isolated. I have that multiplied 4. The opposite of multiplication is division. So I'm going to divide everything by 4. So my final answer is going to be x equal to negative 15 over 4. That's my final answer.